what? A week? It's Monday. It's already been a whole week. Man, I'm excited for this one. Help a Teacher Facebook live every Monday night at 7 p.m. And before we get into it, let me just say, man, I spent a few days on the road last week out in East Texas on the border of Louisiana, close to it, at Orangefield Junior High and Orangefield High School in Orangefield, Texas. And here's what here's what I love, man. What I love about it is it's almost going back in time when it comes to courtesy and manners and respect and just all those old school kind of everyday laws we used to live by. Where, man, when you go to Orangefield, Texas, I'm telling, like, let me tell you a story. First of all, it's yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, no, ma'am, no, sir. Everywhere you go, that's part of the deal. But in addition to that, I can't tell you the number of times I would see young men holding the door for ladies coming through the door. Every gentleman, there's a lot of hats. It's a country town, a lot of hats going on out there. But before they come into the building, every young man takes off their hat before they enter the school. It's it's just it's just cool, and they're just so appreciative. I just can't stop. I can't stop thinking about them. It is awesome. I love it. And so big shout out to all the administrators and the teachers and the parents and the kids and the community who put together, it's one of those places where it really is a community school where everyone's in. And, what the best thing about those small town schools is they know those kids and they know exactly where they're coming from. When they get to their class, they know exactly where they're going. And, it's not like a giant suburban district where they could have gone to one of 50 elementary schools and they're going to go to one of 25 high schools after they leave here. They know, and they're going to see those kids at the store, and they know one of these kids in my class is going to be the Allstate agent, and one of these kids in my class is going to be a police officer, and one of these kids is going to be in my class, going to be the mayor right here. And I love it, man. It's been amazing. All right, we got some folks. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. It is a fantastic, glorious name, all the way from the Fiji Islands in the South Pacific. Man, what time is it there? I'm going to try to use my Dateline calculator and figure that out. All right, today. So listen, you guys know that I had a good friend of mine, Dr. Jeff Springer. He talks about Brad Hughes, and he's telling me, man, you love this guy. I love this guy. He's awesome. And Brad Hughes is our guest tonight. He's been in the game. He's been in the teaching game a quarter century. He is from our wonderful neighbors to the north in Ontario. And he's an elementary school principal there. And he's one of these educators who's got all kinds of stuff going on, not just in school, but outside of school. He's living the lifestyle, not just talking the talk, but really walking the walk when it comes to creating content and delivering valuable tools for schools and school teachers and school leaders. He's awesome, man. I can't wait to get to know more about him. He's on the show tonight. Brad, all the way from Ontario. How are you, brother?
Hal, I'm doing great. I'm so pleased to be with you, and so great to connect with new platform and new friends and new contacts. And thanks for having me, man. This is going to be a fantastic night.
Yeah, man. Every time I get a gentleman on the show, my thought is, I always wonder, at what point in your life did you think about being an educator? Was that something you kind of always knew growing up, or was it like this epiphany you had in college? When did that realization happen for you?
Yeah, I always loved school, Hal, and it was around high school where a teacher, my French and German teacher, gave me a tap on the shoulder and said I could really use you as a peer tutor. We had a peer tutoring program at our high school, and so it was there that I kind of caught the teaching bug, and I got a real flavor for meeting my peers where they were and not where I expected them to be or not where I wish they would be. And so there was a real art to coming alongside, my friends and peers who needed, help with math or with French or with English, and navigating the peer relationships and navigating sort of the peer mentoring relationship as well. So you've got something to offer, but you don't want to be the expert. You want to be somebody who's going to be someone who guides people along. So I, as a youth, as a teenager, I taught youth programs in visual arts and different camp settings, and just stuck with it and continued in education. As you mentioned on the opening, this is my 25th, almost my 26th year as an educator. So it's been a great gig. I'm very, very excited to be an educator.
Man, here's the crazy thing is even being a teenager and being introduced to the thought of meeting kids where they are. I
Yep.
mean, some teachers spend a decade before they ever come to that realization. And I think it's fascinating that working as a peer tutor, that was kind of built in to your introduction right away into education. That's such a critical, I think that realization alone probably saved years in your learning curve as an educator.
Yeah, it what did three things. One is it introduced me to being available and being present for people moment to moment. So you never really knew what you were going to get. It was a lunch hour tutoring program, and so it would be either on a drop in or a scheduled basis. And so depending on what the needs were, you showed up and you provided your best for 40 minutes, and then off you go. The second thing is it connecting with a community of like minded kids who were service oriented, who were focused on doing their best and giving back to the school community. And it also got me connected, for the third thing, it got me connected with other educators. And so I got to know my high school teachers in different ways, and they saw me and they began to nurture me as a prospective educator. And so, yeah, it really gave me a fantastic jump start. And then when I got my degree, and then when I launched into education, I had all of that in my toolbox.
Yeah, when you went through college and you're doing I guess in Canada you guys do the student teaching model as well, or some form
Yeah.
of an internship like that. And as you're coming out of student teaching and into your own classroom, was it still like this holy moly moment, or did you feel you're pretty prepared for it at that
No,
point?
it sure was a holy moly moment. I came out of teachers college at a time in Ontario when teaching jobs were scarce. I had an ace up my sleeve, though. I had a French teaching qualification, so it was teaching French that got me a job and kept me employed. But man, I loved it, and it was just it was exciting. It was nerve wracking to create, sort of your first classroom and welcome your first group of kids in. They don't know you, you don't know them. What's it going to be like? Who is this new guy? And kids inherit different experiences with previous teachers, especially if you're teaching a specialty subject like French or like music or like visual arts. And so there is some new culture to create along with your students. There's getting situated with your new school community, which is always exciting, and people are always eager to see who's this new young guy on the scene, and is this young teacher going to have what it takes to survive. But I'm really happy to say that I was able to make the transition from merely surviving, and sometimes it was absolutely survival mode, Hal, but making the shift from surviving to thriving, along with it took the help of great principals and teachers to help me along the way.
I think that's one of the things that we're missing, just across the board in education is scripting out and providing support for our young teachers. I mean, young teacher, I mean, early in their career,
Mhm.
they could be 40 or 50 years old coming into the career, or 22 coming right out of college. But it really seems to me that, I've always been on, of the belief that it's more than a mentor teacher. They need a mentoring team. They need somebody to talk to them about, yes, the curriculum and the content. They need somebody to talk to them about them classroom leadership and building classroom culture. There should be a third person on life balance. There should be person on emotional needs. I mean, it requires a community, a village, a whole ecosystem to support that teacher. And if there's one thing I really think would cut down on that turnover, would be that approach.
It really does take a community, because the coach and coachee relationship, or the mentor and mentee relationship, it's got the word relationship on purpose. It's founded on getting to know each other and getting to know how you can help each other take your next steps. And traditionally is focused on survival. It's focused on getting a new teacher day to day through the rigors of the job, so they don't quit and so they stay employed, and that they don't break anything along the way. But that takes a lot of energy on the part of the mentor as well as the mentee. So if you've got a community of people, you can tap in and tap out. You can draw on different areas of expertise, and you can keep the energy, you can keep the positivity, you can keep the reassurance going, especially as a mentor. If you're tapped out and you're out of ideas and you're out of energy, you're not going to be able to provide your best to that mentee. So it does take a village, it takes a community. And man, if we can wrap our new teachers, well, I think it begins with pre-service teachers, how like teachers who are student teachers coming into our buildings
Yeah.
as learning the trade. we've got to make them feel as welcome and supported as possible. We've got to let them know that as much as they have to learn, they have so much to offer. This is what I tell each and every one of my student teachers that comes into my building, is that it's a gift to your associate teacher that you're in the building with us, because they have an opportunity to articulate what they do and why they do it in ways that, teachers often, we work and we work in isolation without opportunities to really clarify why we do what we do. With that opportunity comes growth, and so there's huge growth for both the mentor and the mentee. That relationship is key.
I'll tell you what, Trisha is just commenting about, the teacher life coach. And if anybody needs one, like, she's the one to go to. And, because what she, you know, here's I think the challenges that we have with helping younger teachers is, as a mentor teacher, without expert training, they're simply going to peek their head into a new teacher's classroom and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And add a just natural response, that because the new teacher really doesn't know and they're not sure where they need help, the natural response is, "It's fine, everything's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. Okay, great, see you at lunch." And then that's over. And so what I always tell people is, like, that's the worst question in helping you, because it's almost as if they're so confused. I remember being in a philosophy class in college, sitting there. I had no idea what was going on, and I could not ask a question because I had no idea what. And the class would be over. I'm thinking, I don't even know what to ask. I'm so lost in this class. I think a lot of teachers feel that same thing, where they're so lost, and they know the lives of kids. The sitting before me, that's my responsibility. And so it's so hard to say, "Look, I have no idea what to do. These kids' lives depend on me, and I don't even know what to ask." So I always tell new teachers is to ask a better question first of all. And like Trisha recommends, just get in there and start coaching. Don't ask where they need help. It's obvious where they need help. Just get in there and help them.
Everybody who is new to the teaching game is eager to get into content, and where I think it begins, Hal, is with relationships. It's content second. You've got to make those connections first, and as mentor teachers or as associate teachers, that's where I want my associate teachers to invest in their pre-service teachers, is helping them understand how to build strong relationships with the kids in front of them. It begins with simple things like learning names, getting to know learning styles, getting to know where you need to adapt your approaches to meet certain kids' needs, finding out about the families and the neighborhoods that you're serving. Before the kids are going to want to care about what you know, they want to know that you care, and developing those caring relationships must be the priority of every pre-service teacher. It must be the priority of every associate teacher to nurture those relationships, so that when the content comes, you can find ways to bring the content to kids by activating what fires them up. If you find out what fires kids up, what really gets them excited, then the relationship will come through the content, but it's got to be relationships first.
Yeah. Here it is with Trisha coming in strong. Hey, lady, where are you overwhelmed today? Where are you winning? Yeah, I mean, those are great questions, rather than, "How you doing?" "Okay, great, fine." Because then it's over and done. I think that, man, that's such a key component to this whole teaching thing. And I think years ago in 1970s, when I was in school, that, yeah, maybe the relationship didn't matter as much as it did today, because when I was in school, there was a lot of parents still married. We were on scouts and Indian guides, and we were all at the Y. We all had relationships going on outside of school. This is just a different world today. And I think you're right, man. It is critical that we help educators build the foundation of relationship upon which we can have educational moments. Like, that really is key.
The other thing we have to be really cautious of, how is, as we're aware of what we might consider the deficits or the setbacks or the challenges of any of our school communities, we have to switch that, and we have to look for the gifts that our kids and families are bringing to us. We can't be focused on meeting needs we're not aware of, or filling gaps that we're not aware of. We can't assume the worst. We have to assume the best. We have to assume and find the gifts that kids and families in all of their walks of life, and all of those different shapes and sizes of families. What are the gifts that kids and families are bringing to us, and how can I leverage what I know and learn about my community to, really get kids fired up about learning in the classroom?
Hey, I'm curious for you, with as teachers are coming to your school and and looking for a job, and we have some young teachers coming out of college. We have seasoned educators coming from another school. As you're sitting on the other side of the desk in those interview moments, what is the main thing that you're looking for? Someone told me that to get the A player that we want on campus, it's almost as if there's a neon sign above their head, point with a finger pointing down, like, you found me. It's so crystal clear. It's so obvious that they're in front of you. What is that for you? What specifically, what are you looking for when you're finding a new team member?
More and more, Hal, I'm focused on hiring for character as well as for specific qualifications. And so a lot of the questions that I ask are designed to elicit the philosophy, the approach to educating, the approach to lifelong learning, and the character of the candidate. And then we ask them to show that their character shines through in the questions we ask them about their experience. In some cases, I'm hiring staff members for a very specific scenario. And so what I'll do is I'll share the scenario with them. I'll share a little bit about the classroom culture that they'd be inheriting. I'll share with them any of the setbacks that the kids or class might have experienced. Basically, I want them to be prepared to enter on day one, knowing what the setting is and what the expectations are. Something else I'm beginning to experiment with is, rather than surprising candidates with gotcha questions, I'm trying to really set the scene so that they can really allow their talents and their expertise to shine. Because let's face it, interviews are stressful, and it's really hard to be and feel situated and at your best and letting your real talent shine through when you're stressed out and when you're sweating. And so I do all I can to help candidates feel as comfortable and supported as possible through the process. I ask them what questions they have, let alone let alone what questions I have for them. I want to make sure they leave knowing that I want to know what the questions they have for me, and I want to situate those candidates as the reason for me being there. Like, they're not there for me, I'm there for them. They're putting their trust and excitement into a position at my school. I want to make sure that they feel supported, and even if they're not a successful candidate, I want to have them leave the interview feeling that a principal cares about them, wants to know more about them, and looks forward to keeping in touch with them. And all of us are championing these candidates through a number of different interview opportunities. And so we want to be a part of contributing to them landing in the right place at the right time for the right school.
Yeah. It's always fascinating to me, especially for our kids not kids, our young teachers coming out of college into those positions. I think we forget that many times, for the vast majority of them, that principal office, I mean, that's this mythological place where bad things happen. And this oftentimes is the first time they've ever been in there is for a job interview. And you can see the blood pressure rise. But I think you're right, man. I think also, in addition to all that, just on my experience watching some challenging things happen is, it's almost as if dating, where we end up with the wrong person because this candidate comes in and wants to present themselves in the best light possible. It might not be completely accurate, but it's the best light. And sometimes we represent a school in such a way, hoping this might be the right candidate. So we have to present ourselves in the best light. And what happens is a school ends up with a teacher that is just certainly not a good fit. And a teacher ends up in a school with a school leader that isn't a good fit for their personality, rather than both parties being completely authentic in every way so they can both make a good decision.
And sometimes you just don't get a match. And when you don't get a match, it's up to the school leader, and then it's up to the community to support that teacher through. You can't leave them hanging. The kids are too important, and this teacher's sense of well-being and sense of capacity is too important. If a teacher's struggling, if a teacher is not a good fit, if you're having difficulty finding that fit, you just got to name it to the teacher and say, hey, look, we want you to be an active and contributing member of the community. What's it going to take? What do you need? You can't abandon these. You can't abandon these candidates if it's not a good fit. You're with them, they're yours, and you need to take full responsibility for making sure that they're okay.
Yeah, I love that statement. Here's I always look at it in the terms of a sports analogy, where you find a quarterback that is just the wrong fit. They're in the wrong offense, but they send them to another team and they flourish, and they're an amazing leader. It's the same thing for teachers. I think sometimes we get caught up that in order to be a great teacher, you have to be a great teacher for every population and every school and every socioeconomic category, when the truth is you just might be in the wrong grade. You might have the wrong school. You might be in the wrong part of the town. There's so many factors that could go in where they might be amazing on a different team somewhere at another school.
But it's not fair though if you don't share the playbook. If you're the
Yeah.
coach and you don't share the playbook with them, and they're struggling out there and they're throwing the passes into the wind or they're getting their patterns crossed up, that's not their fault. Principals have to share the playbook. You have to let the teacher know what your positive expectations and what your hopes are for them. You have to give them the playbook. What's the school culture all about? What are they going to expect? Who are the people they can lean on? Who are their go-to people? And you have to surround them with a community of people that are going to be there for them too. And that takes time. Again, we want to move away from teachers sort of teaching in isolation to where teachers have got classroom doors open and the support is there. And so that welcoming culture is the shared responsibility of the principal and everybody that works there. And that goes for any visitors to the school. We want to make people feel welcome when they come in, glad they came even for a small reason, and leave them wanting to come back. We invest a significant amount of time in our substitute teachers. We call them guest teachers at our
Yeah.
school, and our culture is we teach up the kids to make sure that they treat our guest teachers as guests in the school. Just as you have a guest in your home, you're going to give them your extra manners. You started out the broadcast tonight, talking about those great manners in Texas, and it's the same thing in a school culture. Is you want to be, kids can demonstrate caring for guest teachers. And when I make my walk arounds, that's what I look for. I ask the teacher, want to make sure that you are feeling supported. If you've got any questions, just pick up the phone, any support needed. And so that culture extends from every visitor, everybody that walks in your door. You want to leave them feeling glad they came.
I love just the idea. It's all the consistency, all the way from hiring for character,
Mm-hmm.
from expecting the same thing from our kids in the school, for guests that we have in the building, and just that theme that runs through it all. And you're right, man. Like, that whole hiring for character is key, because we always say, like, for our kids, I say it seems like a million times a year in my work with schools, that, if the kids have to see it if they're going to be it. As an educator, I got to show it if I'm going to grow it in that kid. And if we have educators standing before kids that just don't have that yet in their lives, they haven't developed that quality, well, we certainly can't expect to see it in our kids. And I think if we have those expectations school wide, then certainly, like, setting that as the foundation for our hiring. I think what we end up with is a team full of amazing educators who love being with one another, serving kids.
So true. And everything speaks. I mean, every opportunity, every interaction that we have is an opportunity to uplift others. And I call it modeling desired behaviors. And, whether you call it walking the walk and talking the talk, or, every opportunity that we have, kids are watching, teachers are watching, parents are watching and listening really carefully to what you say and do. And then when you see things that are aligned with your core purpose or with the core culture of the school, you talk it up, you praise it, you say how grateful you are. You take opportunities to lift others and let them know how they are contributing to your school community. And that goes from everybody. Like in my building, it's everybody from age 3 at the beginning of the school year in pre-kindergarten to age 12, and then their teachers as well. So everybody counts, everybody can contribute. Everything that you do and that you say and that you model is seen, and you want to make sure that you're modeling positive and consistent expectations for everyone to succeed and enjoy being together.
Hey, I'm curious, as we're getting lots of folks vaccinated now, and things, it's almost as if we have a light, a glimmer at the end of the tunnel. And as we're coming around to finishing the school year, looking at summer and rebuilding for next year and getting back on track,
Mhm.
somewhat. I'm curious, as a school leader, what are some of the things that you have in mind to bring teachers back and get refocused as a family?
Ever since last March, when our schools closed, I've been j- obsessed with this vision of restoring our schools, all of our schools, as havens of safety, personal, physical, emotional safety, just like our schools were in each and every one of our communities before the pandemic. And so we experienced school closures from March to September 2020. And then from September 2020 to January 2021, our district was in person. We have sort of two track program. We have in person schooling, and we have families and kids that have opted for distance learning as well. So we've had schools open. Really, really grateful that in our region we've been able to keep schools open for the most part, and that we're keeping schools open with lots and lots of worries on the part of kids, teachers, families. Are they going to be safe? Are they going to be supported? Are they going to be understood? Are their worries, stresses, fears going to be soothed? And as a school leader, that soothing and that reassurance goes to my staff as well, and it goes to me. I mean, when I recognize that I'm getting tapped out, or my my gas tank's running low, I just name it and I try to find ways to restore it. So right now we're focused on April, May, June, finishing our school year with this dual track program, both in person and distance, and really, really hopeful, Hal, that as immunization becomes wider, we can welcome each and every one of our students to in-person learning in September 2021. And this is where those relationships are key, because we want to, like, what we've tried to do is to keep the relationships kindled and active, so that when we do welcome everyone back, we want to reestablish those connections and that sense of community as quickly as possible. We want to draw on the trust that we have created in past years. We want to draw on the trust that we have tried to demonstrate with teachers and families through the pandemic. And make no mistake, families and students have demonstrated tremendous trust in me personally as a school principal and in our schools in general. I mean, the kids are the most precious thing to any parent. And so to send their kids to school, it really is a matter of faith and trust that they're going to be looked after. They're going to be well supported. You're going to keep in touch with them if there's any challenges, difficulties. And this trust has never been needed more than teaching, leading, and learning through a pandemic.
One of the most powerful moments I've ever experienced as an educator was I had a principal. It was a K-5 school, and one of that first week of back to school professional development, she pulled in a bunch of a bunch of parents for the teachers, and she asked the parents to describe what it's like for them when they come in the drop-off line and their kids gets out of the car, and to watch them walk away, and to see these parents cry and talk about that emotion, like I'm hoping that you're going to be their mom. I want you to be the mom. I can't be there. Please be their dad. And to talk about how much they love their kid, how much and what it takes, and the feeling they have driving away, wondering and hoping that everything's going to be okay for their kid. I think I think we know it. As educators, we get it, but to hear a parent say it about their child that we all know and love, it was a powerful moment.
We have to be open to those moments too. We have to be open to welcoming and just kind of sitting with the strong emotions that our parents feel about school, whether it's worry, sorrow, excitement, fear, anger. We have to be there. We have to be there for all of it. We have to demonstrate that we're going to hang in there with families as they experience all of these stresses, whether it's dropping your 3-year-old off for their first day of pre-K, or whether it's picking your sick child up who may have COVID symptoms and you're directing them to see a doctor or get a COVID test, or it's a teacher picking up the phone to share some concerns or a setback that a kid's experiencing, or likewise a parent's calling me as a principal saying, we're experiencing a setback, we're experiencing something we're not happy about, can you help us through that? But that's what educators do. We're here for all of it, and the ultimate goal is improved outcomes and really improved lives for kids.
Yeah, I think people really underestimate sometimes what it's like for educators, especially a principal. I mean, when I try, it's like it's running a city. I mean, we got healthcare services, we got food services, we got transportation. By the way, we're supposed to teach them something along the way. I mean, it really is this monumental undertaking that it starts early in the morning, it ends in the afternoon, and we do it again the next day. I mean, to describe all the details, it is intimidating, not to mention overwhelming.
It's so exciting though when you've got everything clicking together, and when you've been able to attract or recruit and then retain staff members that are there for all the right reasons, and staff members that have that ability to hang in there with each other, and to hang in there with the principal as they're figuring things out. I mean, this pandemic has really put the spotlight on our creativity and our determination to um, to just do what we can with what we know moment to moment, and recognize and give each other grace and space and understanding that we're all working this thing through. And it's humbling when I walk into my, when I drive up to my school and I see the building. I take a look at all of the different aspects of the physical plant. I take a look at all of the community members there, and it's a huge and it's a fantastic responsibility. And I'll say to you how it's tremendously humbling and very exciting to be tasked with that responsibility. And man, the people that I serve, I love them. I love the kids, and I love the staff members that I serve, and very grateful to serve a fantastic community.
Yeah, it's awesome. Hey, brother, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I can't, man, I can't, I really, really appreciate you. I love all that you have going on in your school. Love what you have happening for your kids and your teachers, your families, your community. It's awesome, man. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure. Hopefully we can chat again.
Absolutely. Take care, man.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.